Right, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this webinar about all things Bocconi. My name is Mark Huntington. I'm from a company called A Star Future, who are hosting tonight's session. Basically, well, as we've described it in the title, we are rather hoping that this is your opportunity to learn about all things related to the university, why it is a place that you should perhaps consider for your bachelor's education, where it's going to take you in life, what kind of things you need to get in and all the rest of it. And also, obviously, we are joined this evening by 3 current students who will also share a little bit more about their experience. Before I get started, I will just say that if you have questions, that's kind of the whole point of the whole evening. Please use the Q&A function that you will find in the bottom so that we can, all of the panelists should be able to see those questions, and we will get to them, if not immediately, certainly after you've heard from me. But I'm going to speak for a couple of minutes first of all. I'm just going to load up a quick presentation about us. Just here we go. Okay, so all things Bocconi. This is, well, we've been working together with the university for about 15 years now in the UK, and we've over that time seen quite a large number of British educated students end up choosing to study in Milan. So this evening, really what we want to do is focus specifically on this one university. But for those of you who are not familiar with us, I just thought it a good point to just introduce ourselves a little bit. Essentially, what we do is try to encourage British students to go and study abroad, to engage with opportunities outside the UK. As I'm sure you are aware from a UK perspective, the temptation is to just, go to British universities very often. Really what we want to do is just get people thinking a little bit further afield. Now, we have lots of universities that we work with. There's all sorts of things you can ask us about at other times. We have actually got quite a series of webinars going off in this next month on everything from the USA to the Netherlands to medicine to dentistry, you name it, all sorts of different things that you are welcome to get in touch with us to sign up for. But for this evening, we are just going to specifically focus on one university. But if you do want to get hold of us at any time, we have a number of websites, the astarfuture.co.uk, studyinholland.co.uk. You're also welcome to email me, contact us on Twitter, and that also works on Instagram, that handle as well, anytime that you want. But I don't really want to talk too much about me this evening, because the whole purpose of this is for you to learn more about the university. And for that reason, what I'd like to do now is introduce the first speaker, and that is Mario Tabarini, who is actually the head of guidance and recruitment at Bocconi. And he's going to give a short introduction to the university, after which I'm going to ask him a few questions, and then we'll move on to the next part of the evening. Thank you very much. All yours, Mario.
Thank you so much, Mark. It is a pleasure for me to be here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. So I'm going to share a very quick presentation, I would say, to leave the floor more on the Q&A and the students. So I don't know if you can see my, this is done. Here we go. Sorry. Okay. Where am I? Sorry about that. So just 1 second, sorry about that. I'm sorry, it's gone. Mark, if you can upload it,
I've got it, Mario. Let me
I'm
just.
really sorry. I don't know what happened with this.
Sorry, I need to do the shared screen. Sorry about this, everybody. These things happen, but here we go. Share screen. This, you should hopefully be seeing.
Yes, thank you so much.
Presentation right now. All right. So yes, just tell me when you want to move on, Mario.
Yes, please. Sorry about that. It's only a few slides. Sorry, guys. Let's start. So Bocconi University. So let's go to the next and the following one. Mark, please, because next one is me, and then the following one we start. Okay, our history. Bocconi, it's a business school mainly, and it was born as a business school. It was born in 1902, very, let's say, recent times for Italy. We have the oldest universities in the world, like Bologna, but we were the first one in Italy granting a degree in economics. And for many years, we've been the only one, actually. And we were first in many ways, in many things in Italy. For example, we were the first one doing an international exchange program back in 1974 with New York University, and consider that the Erasmus program that you all know started in 1987, so well in advance. We were also the first one in 2001 starting a degree, an undergraduate degree, fully taught in English. So Bocconi has in its DNA the internationality. We've always been looking at the international market, at the international world, not only at the Italian domestic market. We are a mid-sized university. We don't do everything. We are focused mainly on social sciences. So 4,700 students, of which the percentage of international students in our classes taught in English, which are the majority, it's 41%. So very international campus. And it's confirmed by the fact that we have more than 100 nationalities on campus, including students and faculty members. Thanks, Mark, for the following one. This is our placement worldwide. We are basically in any ranking, we put here the most famous, we are basically top 20 in the world and top 5 in Europe. We are, ranked in our core disciplines, so business, economics, management, accounting, social sciences at large, including political science and law. We are also, so we are very well placed with ranking, but we are also a very good research university. This is confirmed by the bottom part of the slide. In terms of receiving European research grants, we are in the top 3, top 4 in Europe. And actually the 2 universities in front of us in this particular ranking, which is not a ranking, is the number of ERC, European research grants given to faculty members, are like, if I'm not wrong, in the first one are Oxford and Cambridge, or Oxford and Imperial College. So it's really a very top university compared also to the top UK institutions. Mark, thank you. Sorry about this, but it's okay. We're also very international. I mentioned it in my first slide. We have an international network which combines quantity and quality. We offer every year over 2,000 opportunities for our students to study abroad in more than 280 partners in 54 countries. Basically, if you take any ranking in any continent, we do exchange students with top schools in that continent. This is a fantastic networking opportunity for our students. Our students can go abroad in top schools in any country. We have, for example, exchanges with all the Ivy League schools in the US. This is probably one of the few schools that has it. The Department of Economics at Princeton University have an exchange only with us, if I'm not wrong. And it combines the fact also that our students can take advantage of very good pupils coming from all over the world in our courses, giving value added. So it's really a fantastic opportunity also, that network. We also have double degrees. So the next one, which I think it's employer relations. We are very well connected with the market and with the employers in Italy, but not only in Italy. You see 2,500 employees involved in activities. We have activities on campus. Of course, this year for everybody is less on campus and more online, but still there are many opportunities for our students. Nearly 11,000 internship and job offers. Actually, last year, sorry. It's actually, it's like that our students are giving offer of internship or job opportunities more than one. They receive many offers, and they are able to choose. This is fantastic for us. Also, thanks to our incredible network of alumni worldwide, 120,000 worldwide, many in the UK, many in London, of course, but not only in London. And we organize career fairs in Italy and abroad. We have our London fair, which has been transformed this year online to a digital event called UK in Ireland. And the placement of our students is it's very good. The second indicator, 95.7, is the one that we give to the Financial Times for their rankings. And actually it's the top for the master in international management. Basically it's the top one of the list of the Financial Times. So the placement is very good. Most of our students stay in Italy because we still have a good number of Italian students. The majority are Italian students, but more than nearly a third work abroad 1 year after graduation. I have another slide, which is an overview of our programs. I will not go into details about that. It's like we do, as said, only a few things. So the previous one, Mark, thank you. It's management. We do management, we do economics, we do finance, we do political science, started in 2015, and very upcoming degree. We have in that degree there is a mandatory exchange program where we have exchanges with all the top politics departments from all over the world. We have 2 new kids in the block. One 2017 created economics management and computer science, and the other one maths for AI, mathematical and computer science for artificial intelligence. These 2 courses broaden the scope of our university, doing more things, crossing between, let's say, economics and management and mathematics, physics, hard sciences, computer science, of course, statistics. So it's and it's demanded by the job market. The job market say to us, yes, do those courses, because the students who do those disciplines are very, have a profile which is more complete, I would say, combines the management skills with the hard skills and technological skills. Then we have the last one is our, let's say, flagship program. It's the World Bachelor in Business, a 4-year programs that gives the students a possibility. Well, I forgot to say that our degrees are 3 years, the previous ones. In Italy, by law, you have 3 years degrees. So this one is 4 years because you get 3 degrees, 1 US degree, 1 Italian degree, and 1 Hong Kong degree from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. The 2 partners are Hong Kong University of Science and Technology and the University of Southern California, the Marshall School of Business. Together with Bocconi, these schools are top, let's say top 10 in their continent. So it's really a top program, and you get 3 degrees. It was created in 2013, and so far, to our knowledge, there is no equivalent program in the world. And it's also very convenient because you don't pay the full, you get a full degree, which is a US degree also, by paying only 1 year, possibly in the US, which is the first year. Second year is in Bocconi, is in Hong Kong, third year in Bocconi, and the fourth year, the students decide where to go. Yes, then we have some programs in Italian. I think I'm done with these slides, and then I'm available, of course, here for questions, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mario. That was a very useful introduction and oversight or overview of the university as a whole. We will be going back to that presentation a little bit later on. As you will have seen, the nuts and bolts, the admissions details and stuff, Elisa is going to focus on that a little bit later on in this session. But I'd just like to pick up on a couple of things that Mario said during his introduction to the university there. And the first one relates to the programs. I mean, obviously you mentioned there future-focused programs, the introduction of like the maths program and the AI and computing science programs. These are obviously just likely to attract students that are not your traditional core market, shall we say. But do these programs also feed into the other programs as well? Would you say that they are also becoming more focused on, well, I don't want to say focused on the needs of employers, but perhaps developing digital skills within an economics degree, for example? Is that part of what you're trying to achieve?
Well, we are all living in a digital world, so I think every course we need to have that part, that component. For example, Bocconi started 3 years ago. I think the claim of our rector was actually more than 3 years. I think it was 4 or 5 years. He said, coding is the new English, because, for non-English speakers like Italians, English is a must. It has always been a must. Now, besides English, you also need coding as a must. So, for example, our rector decided to introduce a mandatory Python course in our bachelor degrees to all degrees. So not only the more, let's say, technical ones, but also, for example, a degree in political science, you need to have a coding course. for example. So yes, there are courses which are more focused on quantitative skills, like economics is not light, the more technical one that we mentioned. And then you have some courses like management or finance or political science, where that component is less present, but still it's present. Yeah, it's present.
Okay, so this acknowledgement that the future skills that are going to require coding alongside all the other, core skills that you teach as well there. I do have to say, that obviously I follow what's going on in international higher education in lots of different countries, lots of universities around the world. Bocconi is not unique in reaching this conclusion. Lots of places are now focusing more on these future skills. Clearly, you gave a very, very strong argument from a ranking perspective as to why people should be looking at Bocconi. But is there anything else you could say about why you would choose Bocconi beyond, a list of numbers that you can put on a slide? What is it you feel that, the real ethos, if you like, of the university when it comes to helping people with these challenges of getting jobs afterwards?
No, I like very much Bocconi. I've been working here for many years. It's in Italy, so you have to get out of your comfort zone. If you come from UK, if you are, for example, a UK citizen, you can go, any other place definitely, and that would be a valuable experience. I would recommend, to get out of the comfort zone. So going to Italy is getting out of the comfort zone, because you are, in a different country with a different language. But you can do it in a safer way. Like Bocconi, it's English speaking, the university, the students, the faculty members, the staff. And it's in Milan, which is the most international city in Italy. If an international company has a branch and headquarter or now they call it headquarter, not headquarter, they're changing it. A headquarter in Italy, that will be in the Milanese area. Is the engine of the Italian economy, the Milanese area. So it's kind of safe landing, but at the same time, you can live a full experience. I recommend also the students to learn Italian while they're here. Why not? It's recommended to any place in the world, not only in Italy, of course. But and you are, you live the Mediterranean way of life, the Italian way of life. That's a very nice part of the experience. I always recommend it's a full experience. It's not only about academics, of course. It's not only about top business school or top school in anything. It's also a life experience. And I think Italy, Milano, and the university combines all of that.
Okay. And obviously we spoke a little bit about internships during your introduction there as well. I don't want to go over that too much with you, Mario, because we've got 3 live real students who I'm going to revisit that point with quite a bit. But obviously we are talking about an international university. Bocconi is certainly international in Italy. But specifically, I guess a lot of the people on this call might be thinking about job prospects in the UK after they graduate, or indeed in other countries that possibly are neither Italy nor the UK. What would you say for somebody, and I mean, is there any real evidence or experience that you can point to about British employers? Do they come to your campus, for example, to recruit your students in normal times? How can you reassure somebody that Bocconi is as wise a move as, I don't know, Oxbridge, LSE, when it comes to getting into those circles of employment in the UK afterwards?
Oh, absolutely. We have the 3 students, so for sure they will tell about their experience. No, Bocconi is very much recognized by the job market also in the UK, not only in Italy, not only in other places. If that question 20 years ago, it was a different world, it was not as connected as now. Now everybody is knowing everything, and we're very much connected. If you go, for example, to London, to give you a practical example, and you talk to any investment bank, to any people in any investment bank or bank, they will know Bocconi. They will know Bocconi. It's one of the universities that places the most of the students in that area, for example. Not only that, also international organizations. It's nowadays, I think in the last 10, 15 years, let's say, I would say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was top in Italy, but not recognized worldwide so much. Nowadays, it's really recognized as a top place worldwide. So on the point of view of the possibilities of working possibilities, I don't see any less possibility for students to come to Bocconi. In fact, I would say there will be more possibilities compared to the, let's say, mid-tier or second, third tier universities in the UK. Yeah.
Right, thanks, Mario. Well, what I'd like to do now is just ask you one final question before we move on to other participants on this event, and hopefully you'll stick around for any questions that are relevant to your area of expertise later. But we've spoken a lot about why Bocconi might be right for people, but what kind of people are right for Bocconi? I mean, what do you really look for in candidates for the university? How would you recognize a Bocconian before they even set foot on your campus, for example?
We like very much motivated students who find, interest in our disciplines. Of course, we don't offer everything. So you cannot apply to Bocconi if you're not motivated and interested in our disciplines. And this is already, a point of reference. And we like students who, want to find a consistency with their study plan. If at high school they study something, they like very much something, then they would go for that. And if a student is not interested in quantitative disciplines or economics, political science, then I don't think it's the place to be. I don't want students who they go to Bocconi just because it's a top school. That happens everywhere in the world. I don't think, generally speaking, not only for Bocconi, that's a good choice. You have to follow your instinct. Sometimes it's funny because we have students, who have their parents who did Bocconi, everybody in the world. And sometimes, they apply, but probably they apply because they were convinced by the parents. That's not right. So my message is here: if you're interested in those disciplines, then put Bocconi in your radar together with other schools, because that's the place to be. If you're not interested in those disciplines, if you're interested in doing, I don't know, medicine or something else, there's no point in
Right. But one very key thing there you've said, I mean, I know that for all that Bocconi is now a very international university, it's also quite a traditional Italian one in some respects, certainly as far as the business community is concerned. But the message I'm getting there loud and clear is just because mum or dad went there, you've got to make your own decision. But if you can recognize that these are the right disciplines for you, maybe this is the way to go. So thank you very much, Mario, for your input there. What I'd like to do now is invite our three students to, reveal themselves so that we can hear a little bit about them. We've got, first of all, I'm going to come to you, Massi. You were described earlier on in this session as having done the full Bocconi experience. So perhaps you could share with us, just in a couple of minutes in your own words, a little bit about your journey, why it is you ended up there, what you've done while you were there.
Okay, so a bit about myself. I am half English, half Italian. My mother's Italian, my dad's English, and I grew up in the UK. So I went to City of London school, and upon completion of my A-levels, I had the choice of where do I want to go. Being half Italian and interested in the international scope of things, I decided it would probably be better to look abroad. I didn't really see myself matching with the classic English culture, so I started looking at the top universities abroad. My Italian tutor at the time actually mentioned Bocconi, and my father, who was an investment banker, had already heard of it as well. So he started advising me to check it out. And around, I think, November, I ended up going to Milan to do like a visit and do the Bocconi test. I managed to get in, and I ended up doing the political science course because I was the second year of which it existed. So that was 2016. It's a while ago now. So having started that, I successfully passed my first 2 years. Then I did my exchange program in France at Sciences Po. After that, I applied for the master's degree and I got in, and now I'm doing a master's in management, which I'm almost finishing. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I finish in around June, I'd say.
Okay.
And then I complete the 5 years of Bocconi.
So it's 5 years of life in Milan minus a short period of time in France.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going to be next for you then, Massi? Have you, presumably, you must have given that some thought by now.
Yeah.
Do you have plans for June or thereafter?
So I'm interviewing with some consulting firms right now, and I've also done application to do a law conversion as well in the UK. So we'll see where that ends up. But I think probably most likely I'm going to consulting or finance.
Right. And I know this is a very unusual year in terms of, COVID and campus and all the rest of it. But do you feel, has Bocconi been instrumental in introducing you to potential future employers, would you say?
Yes, yes. I mean, they've managed to very quickly shift all of the Bocconian jobs online. All the virtual career fairs are all online, and you're constantly reminded about the new ones. So, for example, I think maybe a month and a half ago, we had the finance one,
Right.
and we were constantly told you're given the opportunity to discover it yourself. So you're constantly reminded to show up to the virtual, the fairs, the different aspects, and obviously you only show up to the ones that interest you.
Sure. Okay. Great.
So yeah, they definitely give you the opportunity to make your own decision and find a future path.
Right. Thank you very much, Massi. I mean,
Right.
please stick around. I mean, if you've got questions for him, please do put them in the Q&A, put them in the chat, and we will come back to them. But for now, I'd just like to keep sort of moving through. And I'd like to come to Carla next. Carla, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about who you are and how you ended up in Milan and what you're doing there.
Okay, well, first of all, hello everyone. My name's Carla. I am half German, half Italian. So I do have an Italian root, and like Massi, my father knew about Bocconi and he actually applied himself, but didn't actually end up going. So I kind of fulfilled that desire of his, but also I made the leap of faith to leave London because I had been living there for 17 years previously. I went to a state school in West London, and I was the only person to have left the UK, and I still am 3 years on. I still don't know anyone who's left Europe, but a lot of my friends have come to visit, and it's really a unique path to take to leave. And I'm doing also international politics at Bocconi. I'm in my last year, and I've really enjoyed it so far. I had an internship last summer with an organization called Project Syndicate, which was like an international political media organization that I actually got through networking through people I'd met in Bocconi. So, and maybe another notable story that is interesting for the participants is that I had an interview with PwC 2 years ago in my first year, and out of all of the people applying, they were all from LSE and King's College, and I was the only non-Bocconi student, but I still got to the final round and actually got a job offer. So that's another encouraging aspect, is that we do have this kind of unique angle. When you're surrounded by students who only went to London universities, you do tend to stick out in that sense.
Right. Does that mean then, would you say that you don't really come across that many people who were educated in the UK in your classes? I mean, are there Brits or people from the UK of an international background? I mean, yes, you're half German, you're half Italian, you're very London, I would say. Yeah. I mean, are there many people from that kind of backgrounds, or completely different, shall we say?
I'd say if you really want to find that, you definitely can. I mean, I knew Thibaut, I've met him in Bocconi, and we obviously bonded over being from London. So there is, I'd say, like, I've met at least 10 to 20 people from the UK, and most of them from London, in fact. But I really enjoyed it, like meeting these Europeans and people I would never have met if I hadn't come here. But if you do miss home, you can obviously go back and visit your friends who are in university, or certainly find some similarity in cultural, like common, like with Thibaut in London was great to have that here as well.
But I mean, I do know, and I will say on behalf of the university, that anybody from anywhere in the UK is welcome. This is not an entirely London session, not by any stretch of the imagination. I have zero links to London. I would certainly have happily gone and studied over them myself, and hopefully some of the people on this session tonight will do likewise. But Carla, I did also want to move on and ask you about a slightly different aspect of university life. Aside from your academics, what kind of activities and things do you get involved in there, society-wise? I mean, I know obviously this year has been, or this and last year will have been interrupted in terms of what you can physically actually achieve. But how would you describe your sort of extracurriculars around your degree? Well,
so I am in an association called 180 Degrees Consulting, like Thibaut again. It's obviously a consulting association. Even though this year has been difficult, we've still managed to do projects, and you basically are in a team and you get given a client who has a problem, and it's a non-profit, so you're helping these kind of social projects to grow and find fundraising or do a marketing strategy. So this is something that you get to integrate with different years. Again, another opportunity to meet people outside your class, because you don't only socialize with people in your class. In fact, most of my friends are not in my subject. And 180 is one of the ways we can do that. but there are other associations, some sport ones. I'm also in a surfing association where we actually take more of an environmental aspect, looking at surfing industry and how that's been affected by climate change. And then, of course, I spend a lot of time, I used to, with the nightlife and going out was obviously a really great aspect of Milan for me, personally.
Italy is a fun place for that, but Milan is not on any beaches, is it? Just in case
No.
confused by surfing chat there. Okay, thanks very much, Carla. Hopefully you can stick around for a little while again if any questions come up. But now I would just like to move on to Thibaut. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about who you are and what your experience at Bocconi has been.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name's Thibaut. I'm a third year BF, so Econ and Finance student, choosing to graduate in finance. I'm half French, half British, but both my parents are French, but I grew up in London. Split up between a French school, and then I went to Whitgift School to do my A-levels. When I made the choice to leave Milan, there was actually my friends who started talking about it, and I didn't know about Bocconi, and then I talked to my father who's in banking, so he definitely knew of it. And I thought that the experience of leaving the UK was very enriching, and it has been so far. Other than that, I mean, yeah, my Bocconi experience has been great. I met crazy people, like Carla said, that I never thought I'd have met, like, without the uni experience. I completed 2 internships in the summer between my first and my second year. I worked for the energy company, and I did some interesting stuff on renewable energies and energy storage and everything. And last summer I did an internship at an insurance firm in Zurich, and that was also very interesting. And people, and you start to see the recognition of people when you do say you come from Bocconi, and it becomes, and even then in my when I was still in school, after my post GCSEs internship, most of the Italian people on trading floors did come from Bocconi. So it clearly shows that there has been a change in the industry, and you don't have to be from a London uni to get into those kind of positions. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions.
Okay, well, Thibaut, I've got one for you straight up. You're obviously in your final year of your bachelor's degree right now. And what's going to come next for you? Have you got a clear plan or a wish?
Well, I'm currently revising for my GMAT, which is a bit intense. Well, we've got exams at the moment, but I'm currently revising for my GMAT as well. And I'm looking at applying at HEC in Paris. So that would bring me back to my French origins, even though it's an international program, or applying to the LSE, or applying to the Bocconi Masters. But the important thing is that Bocconi does put you on a pedestal to then apply to those kind of masters, and it is a very well recognized school. And yeah. Good.
Well, hopefully that will your education at
and
least
also,
get in.
I do also see a question from Sally in the Q&A,
sorry, I
saying that all of the students clearly speak Italian. Sadly, I don't. I mean, after 3 years of living here, I have learned how to order a pizza in Italian, but apart from that, I'm not an Italian fluent, and it hasn't hindered my social capacities in any way. I mean, either most students in Bocconi speak English, or Italian is not that hard to understand. Like you'll get the hang of it.
Right, but again, they do have language lessons. Do you not have language requirements as part of your actual degree?
We do. I did pass my Italian exam. Although I cannot say that has made me absolutely fluent and completely able to juggle with the language.
Right, but I guess the other two, you're half Italian anyway. So did you presumably speak the language when you arrived there, or?
Yeah, it was my first language. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, you go ahead.
My parents got divorced when I was really young, so Italian was actually my first language. But then obviously living in the UK, my accent wasn't the best. So then coming here, because I'm not officially like Italian, I don't have the passport. So they made me take the Italian classes, which was entertaining to say the least. But you have to do 2 languages throughout your degree. So first and a second language. So I took Italian and French.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, and for me, my Italian has improved. I didn't come here fluent. I was actually quite bad at Italian, and then obviously it was a big opportunity. And another reason why I wanted to come here was like to increase my language capabilities, because in my school language was really poorly taught. So I also did French here, and you get qualifications as well that go well on your CV. You have like the actual level and certificate with it. So yeah.
Right, but would you say that, at Bocconi yourself, you're kind of in an English bubble in Milan? I mean, I noticed from my own experience of having visited the university, the closer you get to the actual campus, the more you start hearing English in background conversations, whereas in the majority of the city, it's just not there at all, is it really?
I'd have to agree 100%. Most conversations are held.
I'd have to agree. Yeah, I agree with that as well. It's sort of, even though there isn't a proper out of city campus, there clearly is like a Bocconi area, and the shop owners in that area mostly speak English.
Right. So you can feel at home no matter how Italian you actually are. So you'll always fit in. Okay, well, thank you very much, you guys. I will be looking at the question. Sorry, while I've been talking, I haven't really had a chance to look at the chat and the Q&A on this, but I will do that, and I will curate those and come back and start asking about those. But hopefully for everybody on this call now, you've had a bit more of a sense of what the experience itself is like. And I'd now like to move on to more sort of practical considerations of, I mean, I asked Mario in the broadest terms, who is a suitable candidate for Bocconi, but Elisa can now perhaps explain a little bit more about the journey that would see people actually arrive at the university. Now, so Elisa, if you can unmute yourself, do you want me to share screen, or are you okay to
No, I do have a slide, so let me try and see.
You can do that.
Yep. So I won't bother you every time I have to change one. Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. So hi, everybody. My name's Elisa, and I work as well in the Bocconi Guidance and Recruitment office. I used to travel to UK schools, usually with Mark. This year, it has only been a Zoom visits. So I think, this is what we're used to right now. What I'll try and do in this, in the next few minutes is actually give you an overview of the application process for Bocconi University. The application process is pretty straightforward. What we consider for students are three main elements. The first one are your school reports from your second to last and third to last year of high school. So if you're doing a British curriculum, this would mean the GCSEs and the AS's level year, so grade 12 and 13. If you're doing the IB, this would mean the middle year programs, or the GCSEs and the IB year 1, French bac, seconde et première, so second and third last year of high school final GPA. After that, we consider we need you to apply with a test. You can either apply with an international test such as the SAT or the ACT, or we do have our own test, which is called Bocconi test. So I know the question about the scores is coming up. I already saw one in the chat, so I'm mentioning them straight away. If you're applying, there are no minimum scores in neither of those tests, but there are suggested scores. So in the SAT, if you're applying with that, we usually suggest students to try and score above 1,300, 1,350, possibly. From that score up, your application starts to be competitive. ACT 28, 29 up, again, not threshold, but an indication of the usual candidate that is competitive at Bocconi. Sorry. As per the Bocconi test, we know this year there have been a lot of SATs and ACT test cancellations, so this has been a concern for a lot of students and families. That's why we have our own test that since this year has gone entirely online. It's a multiple choice test, 50 questions in 70 minutes, covering math, logic, numerical reasoning, reading comprehension, and you can do it from the safety of your home. We have a system that you just do it on your laptop, and there's a control system that ensures that you're not cheating or anything. But that's, let's say, an option that you have instead of SAT or ACT. We do not have a preference between one of these three tests, but you need to do one of the three and then upload with the score. Apply with the score. The third element that we consider for admissions is your CV and your personal statement. Of course, we do not expect you to have work experience since you're still in high school, but what we want to see in your CV is whatever you've done besides high school, any volunteering activity, any extracurricular activity, any passion you have, you would like to share with us. plus the personal statement. In this one, we really want you to underline why you're applying to Bocconi, why to those courses, and what makes you a different candidate compared to the other, what you want to achieve by studying at Bocconi. I have to be honest, so the two most important elements that we consider in the application process are actually your GPA and the test result. The CV and the personal statement are a sort of residual part, but we always consider that. You see here listed the English certificate. Of course, if you're attending an English taught high school diploma, so whether it's British qualification, A levels, or the IB or the American diploma, you don't need that. If you're not attending a fully taught English diploma, then you would need an English certificate as well. One thing I would like to add is that when you apply, you will be able to list up to 4 courses you're interested in, and you sort of rank them. So the first one you list is the one you're interested in most, and then you can list 3 additional others just in one application. So it gives you the chance to sort of apply to more than one choice, and usually it's better to do it because it gives us the chance to consider you for more than one program. So it sort of increases the chances of being admitted. One last thing I would like to point out about the application process is that compared to UK universities in specific, we do what we call unconditional offers. So if we offer you a place, this is not tied to your final high school diploma grades, so to your final A-level grades or IB grades, provided that, of course, you graduate with a full diploma. This doesn't mean that we want you to sleep during the last year of high school or not do, or not study or do your homework. But what it means is that for us, it's a way of evaluating your previous academic performance, and then we evaluate your skills with the test. But once you get accepted, we stick your name to the place, and that's yours. So it's not tied to how, to your final high school diploma grade and mark. We do have, however, requirements, especially for the A levels. So the British diploma, you need to graduate with at least 3 A levels or 3 pre-U's. As you wish. For the IB, you need to, of course, get a full IB diploma. So we do not accept the IB curriculum. If you're attending an American high school, then you would have to do 3 APs on top of your American diploma. For the French system, I know there are some French lycée students here today. You just need to graduate with your full French bac, and we do not have any preference related to any of the French tracks, even math related. So you can apply with the French bac as well. When should you apply? Well, sorry guys, I don't know. Okay, so when should you apply? Well, if you're a last year student, so if you're graduating in 2021 and you want to start in fall 2021, we have 2 selection rounds that are still available. One is the winter session that is closing super soon on the 25th of January, and then the spring session that runs from mid-March to early April. First suggestion, if you're really interested in Bocconi and you haven't applied yet, you should think of applying in the winter session, because that one, together with the first one you see mentioned here, the early session, is the biggest selection round. So between the first 2 rounds, the early and the winter session, we usually allocate something around the 80% and 85% of the available places. So the spring session is what we call a residual round. So we have higher chances to, get accepted in the first 2 rounds, but still we do have spots also in the last one. If somebody here will be graduating in 2022, so you still have time to think about it. Keep this one as a general reference. Usually our early session is a session that is dedicated to junior students, so to students who are still in their second to last year of high school. And it usually takes place at the end of June, in May, June, and then the evaluation is done throughout the summer. The dates you see here have been pushed back this year a bit because of COVID. But what you should expect if you're graduating in 2022 is to have a first selection round at the end of your junior year and 2 during your senior year. I think from my side, Mark, generally speaking about admission, that's it. I don't want to go into too much details. Maybe you do have some questions, or some question popped up here in the chat.
Right. Well, I will start in with a couple of questions. I mean, obviously, you mentioned COVID and the impact on those timings. We are seeing they are slightly different from previous years. And also, you mentioned the fact that the Bocconi test can be done online this year. Don't count on that always being the case, but that has happened. But it was one question I wanted to ask you, kind of related, but going a step further back in people's journey before they're actually absolutely going to fill in a form and apply. usually when a candidate is engaging with the university for the first time, and I've been working with Bocconi obviously for quite a while now, I know that the typical initiatives you use are things like, well, obviously open days and summer schools and so on. How are those working at the moment? I mean, how would you advise somebody who maybe this is tonight their first inkling that Bocconi really exists? Maybe they've heard something about, yep, I want to work in investment banking, bang, this is what I want to do. But maybe they're not at a school which has had the benefit of having sent many, many candidates to you over the last few years. Where would you start?
Open days are a great occasion to sort of research a bit more about a specific university, and in our case about Bocconi, because during an open day usually you are able to listen to bachelor programs presentations, hear admission talks, chat with the fees and funding office, with the guidance recruitment people, and with students. I always say that it's very important to talk to your peers, talk to students like the ones we have here today that were in your shoes just a few years ago, so they really know what it feels like. They have been what you are being through now, so that they can help you, giving you also some real, I would say, advice and insight about the university. And an open day is a sort of event where you have all these things together. In our case, so we used to do an open day, of course, on campus. So we did one last February on campus with all international students. It was amazing. Of course, this year, this is not possible. So what we're doing is that we have transferred that online. We are having our open day actually this Saturday. It will run the entire day, and you can really pop in when you want. We have a schedule with all the different sessions. You can attend the session programs that you'd like. We also have a sort of introduction by the rector where if you or your family or parents maybe also want to have a bit of a more specific overview about the job prospects, the rankings, the standing of the university per se, then that's useful as well. You can still register if you want, so maybe at the end of the webinar I can pop in the registration link, so if you guys want, you can do that. And another thing is the summer school that you mentioned. We've been running the high school summer school for a few years now. We've always run it in person. Last year, we have transferred it online. We're still working on next year's summer school, so 2021, actually, summer school. And the format that will take place, we'll know it in a few weeks. But whether it's online or in person, I would say that the summer school, it's a great way to test whether the university is the right place for you. I would say that's at a later, let's say, stage in the decision process. So the open day is good, in the first stages, because you get the overview of the university. Whereas once you have sort of shortlisted the universities that you're interested in, and the Bocconi is one of those ones, then why not come and study for 2 weeks with Bocconi professors, Bocconi current students, and see if the environment really fits you, if the way we teach, and the environment, the campus is what you're looking for. So for those students who are very interested but are not 100% sure, I think the summer school can be a great way to make a final resolution.
Right. Sorry, you may have answered this and I might have just missed it, but the summer schools this year, has the decision already been made for those to be online, or will they be in person, or are you waiting and seeing?
We're kind of waiting and seeing. I think what we hope to do is to do, sort of blended formats. So to have it both in person and online, to give, the opportunity to students to decide how they want to join us. But I don't think it has 100% been decided yet. It's something we're still working on, of course. As you know, the current worldwide situation requires a bit of flexibility. Right. Mario, do you want to add something?
Oh, we are waiting a bit. I think we will decide by mid-February. We didn't open the applications yet. We published the offer. Actually, it's on our website, the list of courses and labs that we have, but we will wait until mid-February to open the application. We want to delay it a bit because, to see how it goes. And for sure, there will be the online option. This is for sure. Regarding the physical, we have to, wait and see a bit.
Right. We'd love to.
Yeah.
Of course, we all want to get back to normal as soon as we can. But Mario, one thing I remember speaking with you on a recent call was about, just thinking about ways that students can potentially engage with the university and get a bit more of a sense of what a Bocconi education involves. You were talking about Coursera. There are things that you have on?
We do have on Coursera some courses, very nice from our professors, free of charge. You just go to Coursera, digit Bocconi, and find the list of courses. on topics, of course, that we are good at, and it's very interesting. And the level it's quite okay. You can attend it even if you are a high school student who is not familiar with those topics. It's really nice. It's a way to also understand similar way to the summer school. Even if the summer school is online, it's a good, you don't live the campus life, but you get acquainted with the disciplines, and you may know better which are your interests. I would say also that is a plus.
Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with Coursera, we can certainly send you out a link so you can have a look at what particular programs there are there. But I do know that the summer schools get a few hundred people on them. Coursera gets a few 100,000 sometimes. So there are some really, really good popular programs on there. Now, just moving on, there was one question I wanted to ask, and this is specifically to Carla right now. Because the reason I'm asking you, Carla, is because I know that I know the answer from Massi and Thibaut, because I know which schools they went to, and I know the people who would have helped them through the process at their school, but I have no idea with you. How did you find the actual application process? Was your school in any way helpful, confused by what you were doing? Did you do it pretty much by yourself? And if so, how straightforward was it, really?
I'm going to be honest, the school was really not so cooperative on it. They hadn't. First of all, it was actually the first year in the school. It was a very brand new secondary school, but they really weren't equipped to deal with it. But the application process was not that difficult. You just had to have a few basic certificates, like proof that you did your A-level or you're doing your A-levels, you've done your GCSEs, a cover letter. So it wasn't that difficult of a process, but I did the Bocconi test. I didn't do the SAT. So I flew to Milan and I did it in the spring session, so the latest session. I would recommend to do it not in the last session, but I just found out about Bocconi's application process really late on. But yeah, overall the application process was good. And I think it was really very comforting because A-levels was a very stressful time, as I'm sure everyone knows. And Bocconi gave a kind of unconditional offer. So once you get in, you need to meet very minimum requirements on your A-levels in the end. So as long as you get in with a good SAT score or you do very well in the test, it's a very comforting offer to have.
Right.
Forward, yeah.
Thanks very much, Carla. We are now getting some more questions, which are certainly ones that I want to put to all three of you now while you are still on here. This first one is about what are living arrangements like? Do most students live in student accommodation and do they have roommates? I don't know if that means, are you sharing a room or are you sharing a flat, or how does it work? Perhaps, yeah, you can talk about, and I guess for all of you, I think we're more interested in what your first year experience would be rather than the living arrangements you might have ended up with now.
I'll start just because, yeah, I'll start. I tried to get into accommodation, but I didn't manage to get any. So student accommodation is quite a popular thing in Bocconi. They have 2 or 3 very near, like practically on campus. Then they have some 10 minutes walk away, 20-minute walk away, so forth. So the most popular ones are the ones closest to your lecture halls. And that's certainly a good option, but your roommates are kind of randomly selected. So I had to find an apartment and I did it through WhatsApp in the end. There was this amazing group chat where you would do a survey about what your favorite music is, how late you stay up, are you an introvert and extrovert, and then it would put you in a compatible, some kid actually made this like compatibility Excel sheet so you could see who you were most compatible with and then go and message them. So I actually found my current flatmate still 3 years on contacted me through this WhatsApp group, and then we together found another girl. So 3 of us live 5 minutes away from campus, and that really worked out very well. But there's definitely lots of Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups that you can find if you do want to go into an apartment, which is a really good option, honestly.
Right. Thibaut, Max, Massi?
Well, for me, it's a bit the same situation as Carlo, except for the fact that I was in a solo apartment for my first year. I was the one thing that I just want to add from what Carlo said is that there really is a Bocconi sort of area. So even if you're not in a residence or whatsoever, the Milan isn't as big as, well, London for those in London, but Milan is not very that big. So most students live within like a 10-15 minute walk from each other. So that shouldn't be a factor. And I mean, I had in my first year, I had friends that were in residences, like I had friends that had their own apartments. So I don't think it has a crazy impact on social life. Obviously, maybe if you're more worried about making friends and all of that, maybe I'd recommend going into halls to have a direct contact with people. If you really don't know anyone coming to Milan. I mean, I didn't know anyone and ended up in an apartment and still made some great friends. So yeah.
So I was in a more of a difficult situation because I'm anaphylactic, so I have a lot of different food allergies. So sharing a kitchen for me wasn't, an option. So I ended up getting my own apartment for the I just couldn't share a house with someone else. So I ended up living on my own for the first year, and then two of my closest friends moved into the apartment next to me with a shared sort of terrace or balcony, I guess you call it. So it was the best of both worlds because I could live on my own and have my own kitchen, but I'd also have my closest friends next door. And it is much more likely than you think it is that you'll move into either an apartment block or even a corridor with someone you already know. Because as Thibaut was saying, there is a couple kilometers squared that is 95% of the students are all Bocconi. So you do end up finding a lot of people. And again, yeah, moving on your own, living on your own, or finding a friend through the way Carla did, like because you're so close to university, it's still very possible to make friends, to find people you interact with. And we didn't have someone who an Excel sheet, but that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. Carla went the extra step.
Yeah.
It's like WhatsApping people. But yeah, even if you don't find a place, there's countless Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, and everything just to make you feel very, very welcome. Because obviously a lot of the students coming in it is their first time away from home, first time living abroad, and they, at least the older students really do make an effort to make people feel much more welcome. At least that was my perspective.
Right. But none of you
associations do help out with that.
Yeah, the associations as well.
Yeah. None of you sound particularly traumatized by the experience. So finding somewhere to live was not an ordeal as it can be in some European cities. Absolutely.
No, but you certainly need to plan in advance. That's for sure. Like you don't. There's some people who were stuck without one. You really need to do it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Right. Good. Okay. There's one question. I don't know if we've already answered this one a little bit, but this is one I'd like to ask while I've got the three of you on, and then I've got a couple that I'm going to come back to with Mario and Elisa. There was a question that was asked about how English, or how Italian rather, the English taught programs are. So when you're in a class in your politics and government or your economics and finance, what proportion of people are Italian? What proportion are from other places? How does that mix work in reality?
So from a personal experience, I've heard that it's roughly 50% of the class will be Italian, and then the other 50 will be international. And it kind of matched perfectly in my class. There were half of the students were Italian, and then the other half were split up between the major nationalities, which tends to be French, well, mostly French students coming in. We had a lot of, Turkish, Spanish, Central American. We had one guy from New Zealand. He was lovely. He was a really nice guy. I was the only one from the UK at the time. But then since then, I've met a lot more people coming in, and it's nice to see how many people have joined the call this evening. Because for me, it was pretty unheard of because this was 2016. No one I knew was coming here, and I've met a lot of my old school friends who ended up coming here as well, which is nice.
So they got the message, only slower than you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
I would say in international politics, maybe I think it was 60-40 for my year, but it does vary by year, but it's 50, 70, 30 maximum, but probably 50-50 really. And there is a bit of a difference. Max is right in saying that there's a bit of a difference between there are the Italians and then there's the internationals. There is integration in between, but it's not like super merged together. You do tend to stay with the internationals if you're international, but you do have Italian friends, but just not in a group maybe.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, in the BF program, it is the same. It's about, I mean, the BF is kind of the more, I think it's probably one of the worst programs for that statistic. But I mean, I still met a lot of nice people, and also I do have to say, because it was sounding a bit extremist at the moment. But like even Italian people there, they're very nice. They're always open to talk. They like obviously they're an international course, so they speak English. And yeah, I mean even in lectures you can ask them for help or whatever. No, everyone's very, very helpful.
Yeah. It tends to happen very quickly within the first couple of days. So for me personally, it was the first day, everyone wanted to be with the international kids and every international wanted to be with the Italian kids. And then the second day you have Italians in the front row, you got the French guys on the other side, and then the rest just
I mean, I will say,
That's a bit rough.
when you look at British student behavior in this way, because obviously I've advised people going to many different countries, and before they go, they're all asking, you know, are there going to be any other British kids there? And I'm like, yeah, probably, or maybe not. Why does it matter? And then they all get there, and I ask them 6 months later, so do you hang out with the other Brits much? Oh no, we see each other occasionally. So it's it's a really, really big issue in people's imagination, and I understand why. But in reality, it's like once you're on the ground, you just want to get on with the international experience of it, perhaps more.
I mean, Massi and I haven't seen each other in like almost a year, and we're both British.
Yeah, so since COVID happened, we haven't seen each other.
Well, there's that additional dimension as well, which hopefully is only temporary anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. I mean, do please stick around because you might have some input on these next questions. But I've got 4 I just quickly want to whiz through. And I think these are more for Mario and Elisa. This first one was inevitably going to come up on a Bocconi-related chat in the UK. Will Brexit affect how international students get into the university? I'm going to answer that in one word and say no. I've got some other input on Brexit that I'll come back to, but I would like to ask perhaps Elisa or Mario to say a little bit about how you distinguish between British and other students, if indeed you do at all.
We don't. So that's very easy for us. It didn't change basically anything. Maybe it will change that we will have more applicants, but I don't know. No, we don't have any. There's no difference, of course. Any student who apply from a UK school or international school is considered international, independently from the nationality. So also for the ones who are in this audience who are Italian and study in the UK, they will be considered international. In a way, we want more international students. So as Maximilian said, we aim to 50-50 in all classes. In some classes we have, in other we have 40. So we aim to 50-50. So we love to have more and more international, but it doesn't affect. I mean, it's it's the same ranking, the same application. In the past, the Italian students tended to do the test versus the international students tended to do the SAT. Not all of them, as we said, as we've seen. But nowadays it's more, with the online option, there are more students to take also the test, but no difference.
Well, the SAT is essentially online as well now, if you can get to do it anyway, isn't it? So it doesn't really make so much of a difference. But in terms of fees and things like that, you charge the same for everybody as well, don't you?
The same. No, there's no difference. The fees, Bocconi, it's 13,000 euros per year for 3 years, but only, let's say, less than 70% of the students pay the full fee, because there are lots of scholarship, lots of full fee waiver scholarship, but also 50% reduction or reduction of the fee depending on economic conditions, but many depending on merit. Let's say these are merit scholarships. So yes, okay. There are no differences. No.
One thing I just want to contribute on the topic of Brexit, relating more to student visas now. Obviously, we are 13 days outside the European Union. Things are not yet nailed down in any significant way. We are already encountering problems in Spain with students trying to re-enter the country, which is nonsensical, unfortunately. But I do think that over time, visas will become necessary for Italy because they will be necessary for Italians coming to the UK. But I also think that, it will be a relatively straightforward process. So I don't think there's anything to get worried about there. All I would do is say that, yes, if you were thinking about leaving it to the last minute, that's another reason why perhaps you shouldn't.
But Mark, if I can add something on this, the process for UK students who want to come and study in Italy has actually been released super recently by the Italian government. Students shouldn't worry too much because the procedure is the same as, for all students who come from outside the EU. We have a permit of stay procedure that is dedicated to students and it's pretty straightforward. And most of universities try and help out students in order to, sort that out once they come to the university. So definitely, as you said, the visa thing has to be, kept into consideration. But as far as then the procedures, once you get into Italy, you shouldn't worry too much because really, in our case, for example, we have an external agency helping us out with that. But still, we try and provide the smoothest arrival for international students. So the UK kids are just going to, use all the services that we already have in place for international students.
Right. Good. And of course, you have plentiful experience of dealing with international students, so it should be just,
Oh, absolutely. With plenty of students coming from places where you need a visa. No, let me add one nice thing about that happened to me. I was in charge before doing this job. I was in charge of international relations and exchange agreements. And when Brexit, happened, the first time I would say when it all started, all our partner schools, 25 in the UK, approached me saying, we are continuing to exchange students to do exchanges with you independently from the Erasmus funds. So this was great. So we already, we have in place the same agreements as before, like these will become agreements like outside the EU, but very simple. Everybody says, we want you to accept our students again and don't need to interrupt, and we welcome your students there. So this is very, very nice. It gives you, hope for the best for this relationship. Yeah.
Good.
On the academic side.
No, because that exchange issue has certainly, it's upset a lot of people in the last few weeks. Let's put it that way. The next question I'd like to ask, in fact, let me see. I do have to deal with these all separately. One of them is very specific to the social sciences degree that you have there. Is it social science based or more economics? Does the economics DNA dominate the social science program? Is there a simple answer to that?
Elisa or myself?
Either of you.
Me. Okay.
I mean,
Economics. Yes, you got it right. I mean, I don't know why. Well, yeah, I'm gonna check. You got it right. You're very well prepared. Yes, I think economics dominates a bit the economics and social sciences degree. It's very quantitative, and it has also kind of psychology, sociology, and all that stuff. But it's quantitative course. That course is it's the top students of that course usually then continue and do a master. And the placement, for example, of our master in economics and social sciences in the PhDs in the US and UK, it's fantastic. Those students are very well motivated. And so, of course, this is not all the class, are only top students. But, if you're looking for a lighter course in terms of quantitative subjects, don't go for that course.
Okay, thanks. That's quite clear. Just one question that I opened and then closed before we answered. Is there a simple answer to this question of what would be a competitive GPA for the IB? What kind of score what are you looking for?
Well, we do not ask for specific GPAs. It's one of the two main elements, I would say, of admission. So it always has to be coupled with the test performance. But as far as the IB goes, usually good candidates graduate with at least a 36 in the IB, 6 in each subject, something like that. This, again, it's not a minimum score, a minimum GPA, but it gives you an indication of the kind of applicant we look for.
Right. And again, one of the other questions we have here, which I think you touched on already, Elisa, what A-level subjects do Bocconi favor or recommend to take?
Nothing in specific. I would say the only rule, so to say, that we have is that we do not accept critical thinking in general studies as one of the, the 3 A levels that you need. But apart from that, you can apply with any A level you have. However, we usually suggest students to take at least one quantitative subject at A levels, because of the reason Mario explained at the beginning. Anyways, at Bocconi you have economics, politics, quantitative subjects, so you might want to have that kind of analytical and quantitative background that helps you not for admissions, but once you get accepted, in order to sort of start the transition to university studies a bit more smoothly, because you have that strong analytical background. But again, it's not a requirement.
Okay, thank you. Massi's got his hand raised. I don't know if that's deliberate. Is there anything you wanted to say on that point?
I would say that even choosing, one of the courses which is supposedly less maths oriented, everything at Bocconi is very, very quantitative. So I would very much suggest taking maths at A level or economics at A level. I took both maths, economics, and politics. And so for me, the transition wasn't as hard, but there were some students coming from non-maths backgrounds, and it was, much more difficult. I don't know what Carla did, but the majority around Bocconi is very quantitative, and somehow they can put maths anywhere.
Yeah, no, Massi is right. I mean, I think with a quantitative background, it's easier for you to, to adjust to the way of teaching that Bocconi has, the subject that Bocconi has. It's not mandatory, but if you, for example, are a junior student, so you still have the chance to choose your A levels, Massi's suggestion is definitely spot on. So taking at least math or business or econ will help you a bit. Yeah.
I mean, whenever I see people who ask those kind of questions, I'm usually drawn to the fact that they're probably quite attracted to Bocconi, but not necessarily quite so attracted to math, statistics, economics, etc.
It's difficult. It's very doable. It is doable if you're ready to become fascinated by maths. But it's obviously better if that's kind of comes more naturally to you. The teachers and the professors are constantly trying to help you by giving you, they have a lot of open office hours, etc. So you can improve and develop your math skills. But if you're not interested in mathematics or anything quantitative, I would personally suggest against Bocconi, because, as I said before, maths is very much pushed in a lot of the subjects, because at the end of the day, in the fields that we are hoping to go into, a quantitative mindset is very much required. So that'd be my personal experience.
Thank you very much. I think that's very clear that, yes, you can develop this, but you have to want to. And if you want to avoid it, that's not really going to work.
Yeah.
Next question that came up, well, there's actually two. One I think we could deal with quite quickly, which just says, is it true for a long-term student visa, you have to prove you have sufficient financial means to support your studies? I mean, that's quite normal, isn't it, Elisa, I would say?
Yes, it is. I don't know specifically, the amount for the visas, but as for the permit of stay, once you get to Italy, anyways, when you have your permit of residence to stay here, then you have to show that you have the means to support yourself. So you do need to send a copy of your financial statement that attests that. If you have scholarships or something like that, that is taken into consideration, but still I think it's pretty normal in all countries to have that as a requirement. So yeah.
It certainly is, and we're certainly seeing that for British students now going to the Netherlands, for example, post-Brexit, they have to prove that they have that money too. So I think this is going to be a feature of pretty much every student visa you ever apply for. So I don't think there's a way around that. The final question we got up here, again, this is probably one for you, Elisa, as well. What are admissions officers looking for in the personal letter? Your interest in the academic course or other aspects like activities, location, teaching style? Should the letter also be used to talk about your previous experiences or focus on motivations and the future? Wow, that's a lot of, I don't think anything else that you would come into context.
I'll try and be quick. No, it's super complicated, but we get this question a lot. So first of all, the personal statement, so the letter doesn't need to be 10 pages long. It's not an essay. We don't want to know about your entire life. What we wanted to write is a one-page personal statement where you tell us why you're applying to that or those courses. So give us a motivation of why specifically you're interested in that or those programs you're listing. And then what you would like to achieve by attending those courses. So your future goals, you're perfectly right. And apart from this, something related to your background, maybe why should we pick you? What are the experiences you'd like to let us know about? Just think that we see your GPA and your test score. So the personal statement is the document where you can tell us anything we cannot dissume from the quantitative documents that you send us. So anything related to your motivation, the extracurricular or extra activities you've done during high school. So any, I would say, element that helps us sort of build a round profile of yourself, but focus firstly on the motivation. So why the course, why those courses, why Bocconi? So that motivation side is very important.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you everybody who's still on this call, 1.25 hours after we started. That more or less concludes all of the questions that you have asked. Clearly you will have opportunities to ask Elisa, Mario, me, or anybody actually afterwards via email, no problem there at all. We will make sure for those of you who want to see the slides, the presentation and so on, that you can do so. And absolutely, this will be a resource that you can refer back to now. So absolutely, I'm going to conclude there. Mario, Elisa, anything you want to say on behalf of Bocconi?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for participating in this session. It's been very nice for me, and thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I hope to see you whether online or in person soon.
Okay, good evening. We're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for coming.